everybody. Welcome back to this episode of From the Suggestion Box, navigating feedback, the good, the bad, and the say what? Today, I am honored to have my girl, Severina Ware, here with us today. How are you?
I'm well. It's an honor to get to spend this evening with you.
The honor and pleasure is all mine. For the people who don't know who you are, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I am Severina Ware. I am a CVA, also a published author,
CVA,
op-ed writer. I have an immense passion for volunteer engagement, volunteer management, all things volunteering. I'm very much a champion when it comes to volunteerism, self-advocacy in the workplace, and most importantly, championing Black women and people of color to challenge themselves outside of the box. Behind the scenes, I'm best known as Delilah's mom, or Doll, as I affectionately call her. She is hands down my favorite person. I am the volunteer program manager at National Breast Cancer Foundation currently, and a jack of all trades. I have done and seen it all.
Amazing. And yes, you have. So let's talk a little bit about how I came to know about Severina Ware. First of all, I love your name. I could say it all day. Severina. I could say it. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Okay. So we had been in many spaces. We had crossed paths many times, but a lot of times it was either like in a workshop type situation where we didn't really have time to talk. It was like, hey, is the PowerPoint up? We're going live, go. And then end, see you next week. Like that's just had been the nature. So we had crossed paths often. But when I really got to know a little bit about you, is for people who don't know, Alive, which is the Association for Leaders in Volunteer Engagement, they piloted this program. It's called the Presenters Boot Camp for people to get comfortable learning to speak in front of people and present, etc., which I love because I've often said that we need more voices in the field and more people. There's so many people who bring so much good to this. And a lot of people are taking in so much information, but we need more people to turn it around and share back out in their voice in a way that only they would be able to, because different people are going to connect to different people in different ways. And sometimes even if it's the exact same message, I mean, does anybody have kids? You do, right? So I could tell my kid something 100 times so I'm blue in the face, and she hears the exact same message from somebody else, and it hits differently, right? So the more, yeah. So the more of us who are taking what we learned and sharing it out through our lived experiences, our things. Okay, so sorry, this did not turn out to be like,
I mean for
it to be like a big, huge plug for Presenters Boot Camp for Alive. But hey, if you're interested, go check them out. But anyway, we were in one of the sessions, and somehow, I don't even remember how or when or what or why, but Severina was sharing, and I was like, with the background that you have, I literally was like, why is this chick in Presenters Boot Camp? Because like I had my pen and paper out and was writing stuff and like, can we have a talk when we're done? Because oh my goodness. So can you tell people about that background, the followers that you had, the things that you did in your previous life that I think people could really benefit from?
Of course, in a lifetime long, long ago, I was actually a Dallas influencer. I had a very, very popular blog by the name of Where is the Vodka? And get it, Severina Ware, Where is the Vodka?
Love it, love it.
Actually, me and my friends, we would go around to different places here in the Dallas area, and we would write about our experiences and different things. I was very fortunate to get to work with different companies such as Dell, HP, and Verizon on different campaigns to kind of plug their products that they were bringing down the pipeline. I had a ton of Instagram followers, and I kind of lived my life in the spotlight outside of my normal 9-to-5 job. I was in a very popular I want to say, I don't want to say influencer group, but we took monthly fashion photos and we were part of Diversity Chic. So there were 4 of us and we had different body types and we would kind of model different outfits for similar women. So they could say, oh, so this is a really cool look and this is how she did it. And she has a similar body type as me. So in a lifetime ago, I did that and I was out, I had a blog that was quite popular and I ran with a group of friends that we all kind of collaborated together and it was a fun experience. That was outside of my 9 to 5 and we won't even, I mean, we can get into how I've gotten to where I am today.
Oh, that's going to happen. Because the question is, you were living the proverbial like your best life. Like you had followers, you were doing fashion shows, you were doing your thing. Um, what what on earth made you want to transition from literally holding like I maybe not the world in the palm of your hands, but you seem to definitely have Dallas in the palm of your hands. What made that change for you?
Honestly, it was my little girl. A lot of Once you have kids, a lot of the content starts to shift onto your kids. And for me, I wanted my daughter to have that just I wanted her to have that freedom to decide, like, you know what? I want to be on social media.
Yes.
I want to be out there. And I went from having opportunities that were geared towards just me to, hey, we would love for you to do this and this with your daughter.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that content requires her face to be in pictures and
Yeah.
her to be the focal point. And as someone that is all about like challenging people to really speak their mind and stand in their own, I was like, I would be a hypocrite if I transitioned all of my content. So I took a very big step back and just decided that, you know what, I just want to focus on being a mom.
Yeah.
And it was probably the best decision I've ever made. And like my daughter understands consent and she knows like I ask her for her permission before I post photos on social media of her. And she'll say, yeah. And if she says no, I'm like, okay, it's not going up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was a big transition of just taking that step back and deciding like, I don't need this to be about her. Like it was a great run. I had a lot of fun. I learned so many skills that I've been able to carry over into a number of different avenues. But it was just time, I knew.
Okay. So that's part A of this conversation, right? Because literally, y'all, A plus B is going to equal C. So that was A. So let's fast forward to B, right? Because we're in C right now, but let's go to B, right? So B is your experience with law enforcement, criminal
Yeah.
justice. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
So I always knew I wanted to go into nonprofits. Like ever since I started going like high school, I was like, I really love nonprofits, volunteering. It is my jam, Special Olympics. Fresh out of college, I remember I interviewed with Talisa Walton at United Way of Metropolitan Dallas, and I had applied for 191 jobs at this point. I had a steno pad where I literally wrote down every job that I applied for, and I sat across from her and I was like, if you give me a chance, I will be the hardest worker you've ever seen. And she did.
Mm,
And a part of that temporary role, because it was just a seasonal position, was visiting different nonprofits. One of them just happened to be a local nonprofit that dealt with child abuse, child exploitation. And I remember touring their facility at the time and being like, this is where I want to be. Like, this is
mm,
the difference that I want to make. Like, this is the organization. I remember when the seasonal position ended, I applied, I got denied. And I
mm.
was like, it's fine. I was like, it's fine. Found another job, worked there for a while. Um, Went back to school to get my master's degree in criminology because I was like, I'm going to make myself more appealing so that I can land at this organization. While I was getting my master's, applied for another position that opened up there. 2 interviews, got rejected again. And I was like, you know what? It's fine. It's okay. Got my master's, on the tail end of getting my master's, a position opened up with Dallas Police Department for a crime analyst for their child exploitation unit. And I remember telling my dad, I was like, hey, there's this position open. I am far from qualified for it. And he told me, what do you got to lose? Apply for it.
Yes.
So I did. I got called in, interviewed. I went through a panel interview. And then they called me back and they were like, hey, we're offering you the job. And it was with their child exploitation unit. And I worked closely with the local organization that I had been dying to be a part of.
Yeah.
I just remember getting the feedback from them like, oh my gosh, like, please come over here and do forensic interviewing with kids and parents. Please come over here. Like, what do you need? What can we offer you? And I'm like, no, like, I really like it where I'm at. And they were like, no, we'll do. And I'm like, I've already applied there like 3 different occasions now, and I've been denied. I was like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not coming there.
Yeah.
I remember when I was transitioning because I had my child, I had Delilah, had my little girl, and it got heavy. It
Yeah.
got very heavy. And to this day, I will say I can commend the detectives that I worked with because I don't know how they shut it off as well as they did
Yeah.
and kept coming in to investigate those cases. It got really heavy, really fast. I was going through a lot of different personal life transitions. And so when I was getting ready to leave to go to my next opportunity, they were chomping at the bit. They were like, "We will take you." We
Mm.
and I'm like, "That ship has sailed, like, I'm done there."
Yeah.
But I spent 3 glorious years with Dallas Police Department and participated in some of the most rewarding and exciting and also excruciating work that I have ever gone through. And like I said, I still commend those officers to this day because it is not easy to read some of the nitty-gritty that comes through on
Yeah.
cases, and I had to do a big portion of that.
Mm. I can only
So, but
imagine.
that's that background.
Yeah. Well, so that leads me to see both of those life experiences, putting them together has made you the phenomenal volunteer engagement leader that you are today. So, can you talk to me about what you pulled from both of those experiences that you use now as you lead and engage volunteers?
Most definitely. So, with both of those experiences, especially the police department one, I was the first line of defense for quite a few people. So people would call in and want to make reports. And when you're doing that, it requires someone who is personable, comforting, who's going to be there every step of the way with you as you're talking to them and taking down some of the most heartbreaking and gut-wrenching information that they're having to relive. And I would have to write down all of those details on forms and then pass it along to a detective. So my positivity and my communication skills and my willingness to be like, what else do you need? How else can I help you?
Mm.
What? This is how we're going to follow up. You're going to hear from somebody within 48 to 72 hours. My willingness to go above and beyond for these individuals and to let them know that someone cares. And here's my number. You can give me a call back and I can tell you what's going on next went a long way. And that plays into why I'm so good at what I do now and what I'm doing like in this sphere, because people can never tell me that, oh, well, Severina didn't get this to me in a timely manner. Severina didn't know the answer and she can't figure it out, because that is one of the things that I succeed at. I might not know the answer, but you better believe I'm going to do everything in my power to find it out for you or create a solution. Like, we're
Mhm.
going to figure it out together.
Mhm.
So that's really played a huge part in how I've gotten into become so successful in volunteer engagement and volunteer management is that I have this drive, and I always joke that I'm a professional people pleaser. Like if there is one thing that I am all about, like I am everybody, I can be your hype woman, I can be your cheerleader, I can be your go-to rah-rah girl, like whatever you need, I've got it. And I'm willing to deliver. And I think that's what makes me so successful is that volunteers truly understand that I'm not going to throw them into a role that they're not going to see the benefits and the reward of it. I'm going to make sure that whatever they're doing brings them meaning, brings them life, and fulfills them at the end of the day.
I'm lovely, lovely, absolutely. So I'm gonna kind of switch gears, and it will eventually all tie back in. With all of the experiences that you had prior, law enforcement and being an influencer, why did you feel the need to still take part in the presenters boot camp that Alive was offering?
I will let you know that I have had this fear of speaking in front of groups of people that is completely unbeknownst to me. Like I have no idea where it's from because I joke, like once again, I joke about how like you can put me in front of a wall and I'm gonna have a conversation with the wall. And you're gonna be like, why is this one talking to the, but I will. But I just have this fear of getting up in front of people. And Alive is an organization, an association that is so near and dear to me. We went through their CVA
Yes.
study group, and lo and behold, you see two CVAs sitting right here.
Yes.
And
Hey.
I had such a good
I'm gonna have to edit that part out and send it to Fives. I'd be like, hey.
so I had such a good experience with the study group. I was like, you know what? I was like, I know, like I've talked in front of people. I've done it before. I was like, I'm just gonna tighten those skills up just a little bit more. So the boot camp really gave me that opportunity to sit in a room of my peers and make me step out of that comfort zone of going into those situations and feeling nervous. Because, and this kind of ties in, I was a part of the Black Women in Nonprofit Leadership cohort, and that's when I really found my power and who I am, and the fact that I am a subject matter expert. Like I know what I'm talking about, and I have every right to step in front of people and say, I am going to present to you about this. I hadn't really started exploring like what my passion is and what I could stand up in front of people and talk about. And the boot camp allowed me to do that in a room of my peers that not only gave me amazing tips of this is great, but maybe you can incorporate this and this. But it was also one of those things where it was like, wow, like, yes, that is where you excel. And it was like, I do, like, me? Thank you.
Yeah.
But that boot camp really, it really catapulted me to branch out to want to start putting myself out there to like, you know what, like, yes, I want to present on this topic because I know all I need to know about this topic, and I'm willing to learn more to always keep improving on presenting on that topic.
Oh, so many things right there. Yes. So,
And just really quick, a shameless plug, you may or may not see this face in Presenter Bootcamp 2024.
hey,
May or may
hey.
not see it. I may or may not be a part of 2 different weeks of the Presenter Bootcamp because I also like it made me want to invest in others
Yes.
so much from that experience because I got to see you come in and speak, and it was like, yes, like I like, yes, Nicole, feverishly writing down notes because I'm like, Nicole, she's the it factor. This is it. This is what I need. So like it was I want to be able to do that to someone. I want to be able to do that for someone else.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness, so many yeses. Okay. So number one, I love that you went through it because exactly what the purpose of the boot camp was for has happened, because now we start seeing your face all over LinkedIn. I'm presenting here. I'm presenting here. I'm presenting here. Yes. Number one. Number two, that goes right back to what I was talking about, that we need more people out there giving the message, because often, and I'll be honest, like, because I share your same passion of like, I just want to give back, and the things that I have learned, I want to share, I want to share, I want to share. Well, at one point, um, there was just like with the different conferences and things like that, it was like I was popping up at all these places, which is great. But then also other people need to be talking. Like it got to the point to I almost really just started stepping back, because I was like, there are other voices out there and it cannot only be mine. Mine has only grown because out of my willingness to share, and other people haven't stepped up. And I don't mean that like in a bad way, but
No,
I'm just
but
the
what
only
you're
one who
saying is
stood up to say anything.
yours is so what you're saying is so perfect because going through that boot camp and getting to see you and getting to see Karina and so many people talk and speak and present, that really was the catalyst for me to be like, I can do this. Like I'm in so many different rooms with you guys.
Yes. Yes.
Like I can be the one at the front of the room.
Yes.
So it was so helpful to be able to like have you guys pour into me. That way it just gave me that passion to want to do that for others, which is why when they were like, hey, is anybody interested in being a part of creating the content for Presenter Bootcamp 2024? I was like, yes.
Yes.
Now when I see people like Karina or you post like, hey, this conference is coming up and they're accepting proposals, I don't just scroll by it anymore.
Yes.
Now I put myself out there. I'm like, you know
Yes.
what? The worst they can say is no. When I
Okay.
get emails about conferences, I'm like, yeah, I'll email back and you want me to speak there? Yeah, I'll reach out to them.
1,000%. 1,000%. All right. So let's talk about imposter syndrome. Did you experience it? How'd you overcome it?
I did experience it. I'm going to credit the Black Women in Nonprofit Leadership cohort that I went through in really getting me past that. I give all the kudos to Erica Flood Moultrie and her mastermind behind that cohort. And just to give a quick backstory on that, it was a cohort that was completely crafted for Black women in nonprofit. It was a year-long cohort. We started in COVID. And so we didn't meet in person until June 2021. And
Wow.
the subject matter that we went through imposter syndrome, we went through mental health in Black women,
Mhm.
knowing your worth, then adding tax, which is my favorite.
Yes, ma'am.
Negotiation skills, stepping into your truth. I mean, she created a program and a sisterhood that really helped me completely remove that mindset of imposter syndrome. Like I step into because of that cohort, I step into rooms now protecting my peace, which is what my button says, protect your peace.
Yes.
I protect my peace and I step into rooms knowing that if I'm not offered a space at the table, I am more than capable of building my own.
Mm.
So there was a time when I would quite often shy away
Mm-hmm.
from the tough moments.
Mm-hmm.
And I would allow my voice to be completely just obliterated. Like it didn't even matter. And
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even try to put up a fight.
Mm.
And it was because I felt as if I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't supposed to be in the room, or you haven't been here that long, so you don't know how we operate.
Mm, mm.
And so that would really just nag at the back of my head, like, okay, well, they're right. Like, I haven't been here as long as so and so, so and so. Like, they've built this organization, and I'm just the new kid on the block. I would let that just nag at me and just take me from like a natural high to just like, well, I'm just going to sit back until they need me to do something
Mhm.
and just fulfill my role. And it was hard, but that cohort and having those targeted sessions, and I mean, we got some great books out of it and like resources. And I had an executive coach over that year, Sharon Holly, who centered me
Mm.
in understanding that I am the subject matter expert.
Yeah.
Like when I set foot into a room, I know everything about volunteer management, volunteer engagement. And if I don't know everything, guess what? I have the willingness to learn and I'm going to go find out. I have so many people that I can reach out to and say, "Hey, have you ever dealt with a situation like this? Can I pick your brains? It happened at my last org."
Mhm.
Where and I talked about it in the book. That's what my whole chapter is about, is how I had to reach out to my connections and say, "This is what I'm hearing. Can I get some feedback from you?" And they helped me prove a point, and I was able to go into the situation confident than ever, more confident than ever. So yes, there are moments when I still have imposter syndrome, but I can laugh at them and really nip them in the bud really quickly and be like, "Okay, no, we're not thinking on this mindset because you're past that. Like,
Yeah.
you know what you bring to the table and you
Yes.
know what you have to offer."
Yes. 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 And I say all of those yeses because one of the reasons why I kind of brought up the point that even though you were learning and but you still went through the boot camp is if you ever feel like you have arrived, you're already behind. So
Mm.
always looking for that opportunity to go into spaces, even that you're familiar with, because you never know what you are going to learn, something different, a new way to apply it, whatever it is. So be as like be as a student forever, a
Yes.
student of life forever. You know,
Yes.
even if because there are times when I've seen like at different conferences and things like that, and I've seen the topic, and I'm like I've seen it so many times back and forwards. I'm like I could probably report out what they're going to say with my
I'll
eyes.
still go.
Yeah, but I will still go. And the number of times that I was like, yo, I never connected it that way. Yes, yes, yes. So all
Absolutely. I'm the same way.
yeah, be okay with, you know what? Because like you said, what's the worst that could happen? If you go in there and it's the same thing that you've heard every other time, number one, it confirms and reaffirms what you already know. And there's no harm lost. So you're either going to stay where you were and even be raised up by the confirmation and affirmation that you know what you're doing, or you're going to leave with the cherry on top and learn something new, something else, something extra.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's
And
it.
I I'm so grateful that you are now going out and doing and coming back to encourage people up, because that was one of the things that I did. And like I said, I kind of took a step back with a lot of things, but I turned to encouraging and pushing other people. No, this is important. You just helped me make a huge impact in my organization. People need to hear what you were talking about. Please go speak. And as soon as somebody will like, oh, Nicole, can you do this? I was like, I'm not available, but you know who is? You need to reach out to this person because this thing changed my professional world. You need to hear from her. And it was her
We
idea.
did talk about that.
Yes.
I literally told Karina the other day because Karina posted about a conference and I literally texted her and I screenshotted. I was like, I just applied for this because you posted it. I absolutely love the fact that you are so proactive in being like, hey, I can't speak on that, but I know someone who is so good and will definitely make an impact. I want more of that. I want to see so much more of that because I might not be the expert in it, but I know I can guarantee you, I know someone else that is, and I am constantly shouting out other people's names in
Yes.
any room that I'm in.
Yes.
Because we all like it's a level playing field. We
Yes.
should be able to say, you know what? I can't do that right now, but you want to know who? I got your girl.
Exactly. 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 And just encouraging people and just like telling them, no, they need to hear your voice. You need to hear the voice because, I'm not going to name like the same 5 to 6 people who people always hear of and who they should, because these people have had a very long tenure in our profession. They have a wealth of knowledge and we can learn from them. But who is that next generation that
I
is
agree.
coming up? Where are their voices? The world is changing. Lenses are changing. How do we apply what is happening now, taking the wisdom and the knowledge of those who have gone before us and using it and applying it in the world that we have today? And so
Yes.
I am constantly just trying to lift up and raise up and get other people out there and talk. But it's because my focus has changed to, we need to get we need to get other voices out there because I was getting tired of my own voice. And I'm like, why? And
I never get tired of your voice.
oh, thank you so much. But it was bittersweet, right? It was bittersweet because it was exciting that I was appearing in a lot of different conferences that I was like, oh my gosh, people actually want to hear what I have to say. This is exciting. But then after a while, it's just like the same 8 people. And it was like, with and the thing about our profession,
There's so many voices out there.
not only so many voices, but listen, you just were an influencer and you were in law enforcement and criminal justice, bringing that perspective into our profession. I could talk till I'm blue. I will never be able, we could talk about recruitment. You are going to bring the perspective from criminal justice. I'm going to bring a perspective from the arts. The general undertone is the same, but there are tips and things that you learn from law enforcement that you are just naturally going to include that I would never think. And let me tell you, my husband is ex-military, ex-law enforcement. So I just watch how he operates on a daily basis. And the things that he picks up, the things that he does, the things that he notices, I'm like, I would have never noticed that. We can talk about the same thing. You're going to get 2 different stories. And that is why I am so passionate about, I don't care if it is recruitment. If it's somebody's different perspective, they are going to be bringing with them recruitment with the baseline of, I used to be a teacher, with the baseline of, I used to be a baker, with the baseline of whatever those things are, that is going to make recruitment look and feel a little bit different. And it could be the one ingredient, the one nugget that you need that makes a difference in your program. So,
and that's what makes this profession so stunning. It's
yes,
so beautiful and it's so robust.
yes,
So many people in this profession have just fallen into it.
yes,
Have just have just fallen into it. And it's like what I pick up from you is so like I'm like I said, always discovering nuggets. There's people that I've been seeing at conferences that I've had the opportunity to speak, and they're just really starting to embark that I'm like, oh wow, like I'm definitely gonna see this person again.
yep,
Because the background that they have
yes.
just blows my mind. And like one of the speeches that one of the, I got to see a practice run of a presentation. And I remember sitting in this practice run of the presentation, and I couldn't even look up at the presenter because I was sitting there just writing.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with my like job.
Yeah.
Everything that she was talking about applied to my little girl. And
Mm.
I'm like, where else are you going to be able to get something that is centered around volunteers and volunteer engagement and volunteer management that you can apply to your not only work, but personal life?
Yes. 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 1,000 times yes. Okay. I had to take a breath because I'm just like, I'm so hyped right now. All right. So, speaking of things and how they transition and how they help other things, I want to talk about this. Yes. Said what I said. I wore my yellow today in honor of the book because it was just so, I mean, it's just so catchy to begin with. Just the yellow, and I loved it. And I was like, I am going to match the book today. So, let's talk about that. And I love that phrase because I can't tell you how many times I said what I said.
It runs through my head quite a bit. And it rolls off the tongue so nicely.
So nicely. And depending on how you say it, if there's so many contexts and connotations, it's
Truly.
perfect. It's perfect. So let's talk about this amazing book. Let's talk about this project. How did it come about? How did you get to be a part of it? How did it all come together? Because let me just really quick. So I said what I said, I said what I said, an anthology of Black women in nonprofit. What I like about this book, which I didn't realize, which is a similar revelation that I had with Jerome and Beth's book, the
Yes,
to Impact. It is a collection of articles, right? Because when I listen, I'm all about a supporter. So when you were like, my book is out, I was like, yeah, I ordered it. It came with the book. I was like, oh my God, it's so long. And then I realized that it was a collection of articles, which I love because it makes it easier to digest and take bits and pieces, and I can enjoy it and go through it. So with that said, so that leads me to the question that I wanted to ask before. With so many people collaborating on this project, how did y'all get it done? How did you make deadlines? I know I just asked you a whole bunch of questions. So first of all, let's just talk about how this project came about and how you had the opportunity to be a part of it.
So with the Black Women in Nonprofit Leadership, when we started off at our first cohort session in January of 2021, it was told to us that, hey, these are the different sessions that you're going to go through. You're going to do a TED Talk, and you're also going to have a chance to be an author. We're going to write a book. Everyone who wants to be a part of the book gets to write their own chapter, and we are going to publish it at the end of our cohort session. And after it's published, we were like, so when we published it, where do we want these funds to go? So we, like the women in this book, we don't see any profit from this book.
Okay.
We decided as a cohort that all the copies that are sold, any profit that we made, will be used to pour back into Black women in nonprofit leadership. Amazing. Because we wanted to have that opportunity to share our stories and just let people be unapologetically themselves.
I love it.
When they're setting foot into any situation, any room. It was a labor of love. There were times when we were like, can we get this deadline extended? Can we get this deadline extended? Because you have a host of Black women And we're writing this book, we're preparing for a TED Talk, we are running nonprofits and being moms, wives, sisters, every like caregivers all wrapped into one. Um, we ended up, I think 25 of us out of the 34, I believe, ended up having a chapter in the book. And the editing process was, of course, very, I mean, if anyone's published, it
Yep.
can get very daunting. Now, times 24, like when you add 24
That's
more people into the
that's
mix,
why I was asking.
when you add 24 more people, like it's a lot of wrangling people, and like our cohort's really good where Erica delegated. We were able to like really connect and break it out into groups and say, okay, you're in charge of this pocket of individuals, you're in charge of this pocket of individuals, to kind of start reaching out to people via text like, hey, this next deadline is coming up, this is what we're going to be doing, this is what we need you to get done, can you go in and proofread? There was a lot of editing to like condense it so we didn't have an 8,000 page book. Because we're telling our stories, like we have a lot to say,
Yeah.
and this is our opportunity to say it. Like I said what I said, like here it is. So of course condensing the chapters and just making sure that we got our points across. But when it was all said and done, it was a labor of love.
Mm.
And I actually, like when we were going through the editing process, all of our stories were in folders with our names, and they were like, oh, if you want to, you can feel free to read everyone's chapter. And I was like, and quite a few of us, I think nearly all of us, didn't embark on reading anyone's chapter until it was bound and in our hands.
That is so
And
fast.
even as I've gone through and read it, like you, I've picked up just different nuggets where I'm like, this speaks to my soul. Like,
Mhm.
this is what I needed. Highlighting things where I'm
Yes.
like, oh man, I've known her. Like we went through a whole cohort, and I'm still picking up things where I'm like, wow, this is powerful. This is what I needed to hear right now.
Yeah. So, what I do love about this book is, even though it says an anthology of Black women and nonprofit, there were so many lessons that it's not just if you're a Black woman. This applies, especially if you just are a woman, like if you're there. I love the fact that um it is, so many people can relate to this. Just leadership. If you lead, right?
Mm.
Yes, these are stories told by Black women, Black from a Black perspective, but a lot of it is leadership. And if you lead, I still want to encourage you to get this book and read it. Let me tell you, Severina, there was a time, um I I I believe timing is everything. You were like, hey, this book, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna order it, and it came, and I found your section, and I had just had a little bit of a rough time, something that's going on at work, right? Being questioned, right? And then I pick up your book and I read, don't question or compromise your knowledge and expertise. And I was like, you know what? You are right. You were speaking right to me, right when I needed it, because I kind of had one of the similar moments that you were talking about a little bit earlier. I just kind of backed down and let it go. And I was like, you know what? No, no, no. I'm going to lean into this. I'm going to stand up. And next time it happens, I'm going to say something. I'm not going to let that go. I was hired because of what I know in this area. Am I an expert? No, because I'm still continuously learning. But do I have expertise in this? And it's the one thing that I know a lot about? Absolutely.
That
So
part right there.
yes. So when people are coming at me and they want to challenge it, I'm going to lean in to what I know and not just back down. And that's why, like, I don't know if you remember, but I had to post it, and I was like, Severina, thank you this was exactly what it, because I was feeling really badly. I was feeling I was feeling badly about it, you know, and sometimes it's just frustrating. And I cannot tell you um how many times, and I let me tell you, and I want to preface, I work with a phenomenal group of people. I do. Like, they are smart, they are driven, they are about the mission, they make things happen, all of these things. um there are days though where I'm just like, I am again the only one in the room, right? And I try to handle myself and operate in such a way that, you know, it doesn't matter. And my being the only one in the room is enhancing the situation because I'm able to bring perspectives that may not have been there had I not been there. So, and that goes without saying. That's regardless of color, that's regardless of anything. When you show up into a room, you have a perspective that should be shared because you're in the room. You bring some type of expertise. It doesn't matter because what I because I just I've talked to a lot of colleagues who are in those rooms and they finally get a seat at the table and then they don't say nothing. It's like, girlfriend, you better open your mouth. If you are in there, open your
Closed mouths do not get fed.
and you will be surprised at how receptive. That was the thing for me. Sometimes I would open my mouth and people would receive it. I'd be like, I was ready for pushback. I was ready for, and I was just like, oh, okay. Um,
That is me right now. I like every time I'm like, and they're like, sure, okay. And I'm like, whoa.
you're like, wait, what? I wasn't ready for that. That
Was
wasn't
that for me?
I love it because just parts of the sections that you had, right? So the first one was know like who you are, your expertise, stand up for yourself. And I just want to read a little bit. The confidence and respect you build in yourself and with others while exploring, standing tall in your beliefs and goals is critical in decision making. And so learning how to stand up for myself and just remembering that, because often if you don't show that you're worthy and that you're worth standing up for yourself, who is? And oftentimes it takes you standing up for yourself for other people to then back you up, because they might be thinking it but they may not want to say it, or they're not even thinking about, or they think it and they agree with it but they're so occupied with what's going on in their life. It's not even necessarily that they don't necessarily want to elevate you. Everybody has so much going on, and sometimes by you standing up it reminds other people of who you are and to elevate you as well. And then the last thing, because I don't want to read the whole thing because I want people to buy the book, know when to exit and be intentional in your decision. Girl, that's a whole nother podcast right there. Right. And I love that because it's not only necessarily that exit is a lot of different things. It could be exiting the conversation, it could be exiting the project, it could be exiting the organization. That exit covers a lot. And I love how you handled it in the article, the submission that you gave. I'm not going to tell people because I want them to buy it, but it was phenomenal. And there was that another thing that you had said, like facts. It's almost like kind of like truth to power. And when you have facts to back up what you were talking about, you are unstoppable. And that was one of the things that I've had to learn, is because I have a lot of knowledge of a lot of things and like I know that it works. But it wasn't until I had in black and white in paper facts and data to support what I was talking about. It was a game changer. Things that I had been saying for months, in 5 minutes, I just showed the data and it was like, oh, okay. And I was like, I've been saying that for 6 months.
It just blows my mind. It blows my mind. But I've learned to come forward with facts off the bat.
Yes.
Because you're not going to ever catch me slipping.
Yes. Yes.
And I slip often. But I know that if I can substantiate, like, this is why I'm going to talk myself blue in the face.
Mm-hmm.
So you understand it. because of exhibit A, exhibit B, and exhibit C. Of course, I'm using exhibit. Um, I'm gonna let you know. That way you can't come back and question if you decide to stick with the route you're going. You can't come back and be like, why didn't we do this? Well, do you remember at this meeting on this date when I showed you A, B, and C, but no one thought.
Listen, that happened today, because, and my exact words were like, if they don't want to move forward, they can't say that I never said. It was, thank you for presenting it. We're going to try a different route. Cool. You can't say that I wasn't doing my job by at least presenting it. And if that's what we don't want to go down that road, then cool. But you can never slip and say, well, Nicole didn't, because I was afraid to bring it to your attention because I knew that you were going to shut it down.
Exactly. Like all facts, I tell people, and I always tell people, like, if you need me to help you explore that before you go into I'm here. I am always here. My chapter in the book.
Yep.
I talk about how I reached out to colleagues and was like, does this sound right to you? Can give me, like, let's bounce. And I mean, I had some conversations with different friends that were in volunteer management. They were like,
Yep.
Abort.
Yes. And that is what I love about our profession. I love about being a part of like and I hate to just keep bringing it up, but associations like Alive and other people who know what you're talking about, because let me tell you how many times that people would say stuff and I would be like, well, I talked to my colleague in this industry, in this industry, in this industry, and I ran it by them. Some of them are similar to me, some are completely different. And guess what? Universally, this is the solution to this problem. It's not, oh, it's just a my organization problem. No, it's an industry wide. And I'm giving you not based only on what I'm saying, but also on fellow colleagues. Plus, I literally just did this the other day with somebody. I was like, listen, you could tell me the truth, be straight up. If I am wrong, tell me to my face because I want to fix it and move forward. Am I crazy for thinking this? Perhaps, give me a different perspective. Let me see it from a different realm, because I don't want to be so blocked I don't want to have like blinders up and thinking that no, because it doesn't make sense in my head and doesn't compute. Will you look at this situation? And before I even say what I think, I'd be like, I just want to lay it out for you. What do you think? Because I feel like sometimes if I say what I think first,
people latch on to that and they're like, oh yeah. And you're like,
oh yeah. It's like, no,
that's not what I want.
Right. I want to know what you're thinking, because if you think the same thing I think, then I know, okay. But if you come up with something completely different, you have just helped me to grow to another level, and you've taken me to the next level of success and growth.
Exactly.
Having our colleagues to be able to pull on that, it is invaluable. It is priceless. I can't tell you how many times that I've been able to do it. Can't tell you how many times I've been able to do it.
Same. And I continue to do it. And you said earlier, like, continuing to be a student. And I feel like when I'm reaching out to my different colleagues and peers, I have that opportunity to do that. Like, I'm just soaking up this new perspective and this new knowledge that is going to make me better.
Yes.
It's going to make me better at what I do and how I present things to individuals and how I work with my volunteers. So it's just so nice to have this like community of individuals, of professionals to lean on and just really tap into. And like you, I go through so many different situations, and between leaning into our colleagues and picking up my CVA book, that study book,
girl, best thing ever.
That CCVA study book, between those, I'm always like, oh, I got this. Let me just go ahead and flip.
Yes.
And it's like, if I can't find it in there, I know who I can reach out to. And there's so many resources.
Yes. All right. So we are running short on time. So a couple of things that I want to ask you. Number one, you've spoken very highly and a lot about Black women in nonprofit. How can somebody, if they're listening to this, if it's something that they would want to join or get involved with, are they able to? And if so, how can somebody go ahead and do that?
So she is with Connections Multiplied, and her name is Erica Flood Moultrie, connectionsmultiplied.com. You can go ahead and connect with her there, join her mailing list to get more information. But Erica is about to launch this into a national setting. So it's expanding, and there's going to be an alumni network of Black women all over the nation that can really lean on and support each other. Like my cohort sisters, we're the OGs, and you can't tell us
Nothing.
you can't
Yes.
tell us anything. You can't take us anywhere at alumni events because we're in the background. Oh, geez.
I know the feeling. How can people get your book?
Oh, it's on Amazon. Just search I Said What I Said, Black Women in Nonprofit Leadership. You can buy your copy. It is, like you, I've picked up so many different lessons. And as I've read it, I've had a few people reach out to me and they're like, I'm nervous about buying this book. And I'm like, well, why are you nervous? And they're like, well, I'm not a Black woman. Like, is it okay? And I'm like, yes. I'm like, yes, it is. This is for women in leadership, women who are thinking about going into leadership, women that are like, okay, you know what? I think I want to ask for a raise, but I don't know how to. Like, this is for every woman, not just Black women. So, like I said, it's on Amazon. I Said What I Said, Black Women in Nonprofit Leadership, and you'll find it.
So I love that you brought that up, and I love that you said that. And the reason why is because we had talked about a lot of the themes are universal, right? Leadership, women, those things. Look at it in such a way as you are broadening your horizons.
Yes.
And it is another confirmation that we are more the same than we are different.
Exactly. It's a perspective that's going to bring everything full circle when it comes to not only just women in nonprofits, but women in the workplace in general. Because I can guarantee you, any woman, white woman, Hispanic woman, like any woman who reads this, they are going to find a nugget that they're going to latch onto and be like, I can relate to this.
Yes.
I've been through this.
Yes.
I'm experiencing this right now.
Yes.
This is what she did to get from this point. I mean, there's chapters in here that are about self-care,
Yeah.
like taking a moment to step back, not working yourself to like that last bit of energy where you have to have a family member look at you and go, you need to slow down.
Yeah. Okay.
There's so much in there.
So, because I like to play devil's advocate, if it is so relatable and can touch so many people, and those themes are universal, why put Black on it?
Honestly, we wanted something for our own.
Okay.
It was something for our own, and it was so personal to our cohort and what we stood for that we really just wanted that to always exist out in the realm, out in the universe. So while we did put Black on it, a lot of the chapters, even though they address Black women, they do resonate. Like we knew that these stories were going to resonate beyond that. But we always wanted our sisters to have something that they can be like, I'm seen.
Yes.
I'm heard.
Yes. So I relate it. And also I'm not going to use brand names because these people have enough money in the world and they ain't paying me for this podcast. So, but there are certain like athletic shoe companies, right? They were created specifically for athletes. The gear, the running wear, the shoes, everything. It was created specifically for athletes because it was performance. It was, meant for performance. But just because you are not an athlete does not mean that you can't buy that stuff. Does not mean that you can't enjoy it. Does not mean that you're not going to look just as good.
Exactly.
It
Because there's
means
quite a few of those brands I rock.
and so all it means is that it is the residual benefit of the original purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so for anybody who might be thinking or having those thoughts, I'm so glad that you brought that up. Just think of it that way. Think of it as also another way of learning to educate yourself and understand and come into understanding, because this could be a whole nother podcast too. We only know as much as like the people who you tend to surround yourself with. And you typically, you surround yourself with people who you are comfortable with, who you build relationships with, things like that. This is a way to start to learn in a safe space of your own, even while you're reading, right?
I will say that my chapter has garnered so many conversations with people that bought the book to support me, and they're like, I see you in a completely different light now. Want to have those conversations with me? And I'm like, I am welcoming that with open arms.
Yes.
Because that's all I ever wanted it to be about, is that it's just me sharing a snippet of my truth and hoping and praying that someone takes even just the smallest nugget away from it. You don't have to relate to all of it, but just understand that, like, this is my experience, and you might have a shared experience in it somehow.
Right. Look, listen, and I keep saying this, we need to end, but I relate it to the opportunity that I had to go to a conference on people with disabilities. It shook me to my core, opened up my worldview. In my day-to-day life, do I interact with somebody that has a disability? No. But I look at the world differently. I think about things differently. I see things differently in a way that I never would have. So even moving forward, I can't even see the possibility of this happening, but even if moving forward, I never interact with somebody who has a disability ever again, my worldview has changed and I have a new appreciation for what I learned at the conference. So, and I know this is a huge stretch, right? But if you read this and you never come in touch with a Black person ever again, you still have a new worldview, a new appreciation. It may not become every part of the fabric of every day of your life, but you're going to be different and you're going to see things differently and understand things differently. And that is how we grow. And as we are all doing that individually as a society and a community, we are all going to elevate. So buy the book. I don't care what you want. Buy the book.
That was what we wanted right there. I'm gonna tell Eric, we got our pitch right there. I said what I said. That's the pitch right there. Can we put that on Amazon?
Yeah, right. Buy the book.
Yes, it says Black women on the front, but the book is meant for everyone, because I can guarantee you, if you're a white man, you in a nonprofit, you have one Black woman on your team somewhere. Listen, in your org. If you don't,
a whole other problem.
If you don't, you definitely need to read it. I can guarantee you more than likely do.
Yeah.
So just get their perspective.
Yeah.
You never know what women, Black women, Hispanic women, like in your nonprofit, women in general are going through. And so many of these stories relate to women across the spectrum.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay.
Buy the book.
Yes. Get the book and pair it with the Professional Woman Affirmation book. I mean, I think it's like the perfect gift set for the holidays.
It is, and I can attest that I love that affirmation book. It is one of my favorites. I have that one. I have Game On. I have the volunteer management. So I'm just a walking billboard over here.
It's gonna be great holidays, y'all. But in all seriousness, share this with friends, co-workers, give them as gifts. Severina, you said you are more than welcome to have these conversations. How can people find you? How can they reach out to you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Severina Ware, CVA. So find me on LinkedIn. Or you can contact me via email, severina.volunteers@gmail.com. But LinkedIn is probably the fastest way to connect with me.
Wonderful. Severina, thank you so much for being here. This was such a pleasure. A breath of fresh air. It was so
Likewise. This is exactly what I needed today.
So for those of you who are still listening or watching, if you're watching on YouTube, drop us what you think in the comments, or send us an email, send us something on LinkedIn. Let us know, did this impact you? How did it impact you? Were you able to share it? But also like, share, subscribe on all the platforms so that you continue to get the notifications when we have new episodes coming up. So I just want to thank you again so much for joining us for this episode of From the Suggestion Box, navigating feedback, the good, the bad, and the say woo. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.